Nowadays, we spend our evenings watching a streaming service or surfing through social media. But what did our great grandparents do for fun in the days before social media, or even perhaps electricity? They joined a fraternal organization. Marquette has a long and storied history of fraternal organizations where community members would meet, socialize, and quite often dress up in some rather interesting costumes. Some of those fraternal organizations are lost to history, such as the Knights Templar or the St. Jean Baptiste Society. Let's not forget the Hart Boys, the Foresters and Dogs, the Knights of King Arthur, or their women's auxiliary. But there are others that are still around, like the Shriners or the Lady Shriners. These groups would rent space and hold their meetings at various places around Marquette, including the Guild Hall at St. Paul's Episcopal Church, Liberty Hall, which sat on Washington Street next to St. John's Church, and a building that housed many fraternal groups, Fraternity Hall. Fraternity Hall was a major addition to downtown Marquette. Not only did it hold meeting spaces for groups, but it also had a basketball court, a dance hall, and a small roller rink in it. It's also only one of the old meeting halls that still exists today, although you may not recognize it, as the top floor was removed decades ago when it was the old home of the Marquette Regional History Center. There was one group that owned their own building in Marquette, and that was an organization that actually had roots in the UP, the Knights of Pythias. Justice H. Rathbone was a school teacher in Eagle Harbor in 1860, and to stave off boredom, he and other teachers would put on plays, especially during the winter. Damien and Pythias was one of those productions, and Rathbone thought that it might make a good basis for a fraternal organization. So he wrote up rituals for a group based on the play, and voila! The Knights became the first fraternal organization chartered by the U.S. when Congress approved it in 1863. The Knights of Pythias had about 1 million members in 1920, which was the high point for U.S. fraternal organizations. It counted Louis Armstrong and Nelson Rockefeller among those members. And in 1931, Marquette was one of the UP towns that hosted a huge event when the Pythians bought the original schoolhouse in Eagle Harbor where it was formed. Over 2,000 members descended upon the UP for the event. The Chicago and Northwestern Railroad even ran several special trains from Chicago to bring members up to Marquette and the UP. And many of those members stopped by the Pythias building in downtown Marquette, one of the few buildings actually owned by a fraternity group. Membership in fraternal organizations is now just a fraction of what it used to be, but a century ago, groups like the Pythians or the Shriners or the Knights of King Arthur were one of the main ways for people to get together, socialize, and on those very special occasions, bring out the wacky, wacky costumes.